Spoilers! Alright, I'm not gonna wear these for the entire video. I'm just not. I should, but, you know, it would look kind of weird after a while. So Wonder Woman has been out for a weekend now, so let's finally talk some spoilers about this movie. And that is a full-on spoiler warning. If you have not seen this movie yet, you should probably go see it, because it's actually really good. Then come back here and you can watch this video. Alright, spoiler warnings out of the way, let's talk about some spoilerific spoilers. So Wonder Woman starts out in present day. Diana Prince is in Paris. She's at the Louvre, however you pronounce that. She gets a message from Bruce Wayne, Wayne Enterprises. You know, it's that old photo of her in World War I with Chris Pine and those other soldiers. Probably the first time in a while that she's seen that photo. And then we flash back to Diana's childhood on Themyscira, and yeah, Themyscira looks really cool. It looks a lot like Rivendell. Like that first shot where you see the entire island, I was like, it's Rivendell. But the scene where her mother Hippolyta is tucking her into bed and she's telling her that story about how the gods created mankind, I was like, okay, so in this DC extended universe that exists, mankind on Earth was created by the gods, created by Zeus. There's no taking that back now. So you're looking at Bruce Wayne, you're looking at Barry Allen, all the human beings. I mean, yeah, they weren't created by Zeus single-handedly, you know, it's generations upon generations, but the species of mankind was created by Zeus. But then Ares, son of Zeus, grew jealous of mankind, so he granted them the gift of, like, power and war and all that. And there was a big old fight, and he wiped out all the gods, and with Zeus's dying breath, he created Themyscira and the Amazons, and one single weapon that could destroy Ares should he return someday. And Diana's mother shows her these weapons. It's this sword they call the God Killer, and Diana's like, yeah, I'm gonna wield that someday and defeat Ares once and for all. Alright, cool. So she's training with Antiope, her mother's sister. She's training her entire life, you know, 5 times harder, 10 times harder. She runs off, she's on this precipice, and she sees this plane coming through the force field that keeps Themyscira hidden from the rest of the world. The plane crashes in the ocean, she dives down, saves the guy, it's Steve Trevor. And soon after that, we have our first big action scene in the movie, all these Amazons versus these German warriors, and yeah, all the slow-mos happening. I was like, alright, you know, this is how the action's gonna be in this film. It's pretty much a showcase for the rest of the action in the movie. And it was cool for the most part, you know, like these Amazons are jumping off of shields and off their horses, and it's all slow-mo, they're twirling around and throwing knives and arrows and shit. I was like, yeah, these Amazons, they're badass. They know how to throw down. Although Antiope dies. She sacrifices herself so Diana wouldn't get hit. Yeah, that sucked. Which is why when Diana and Steve finally leave to go do their mission, Hippolyta's like, alright, you can take this crown that Antiope wore. Make sure you're worthy of it. So they go off to London, and that's the last we see of Hippolyta and all of Themyscira in the entire movie. I thought we'd see at least like one more clip or something of them on the island like later on, but we never do. Makes me wonder if we'll ever see them ever again in the DCEU. But I love that scene where she and Steve Trevor are on the boat, they're talking about sex pretty much. That's probably the funniest scene in the entire movie in my opinion. But then they get to the war and they get into the trenches, and this is the first real badass scene in the movie. They're in the trenches, because you know, it's no man's land. The Germans on the other side, and if you try to cross, they're just gonna shoot you down. Diana comes along, she's like, wait a minute, I'm an Amazon warrior. I can deflect bullets. Let me just go ahead and just cross that line for you. So she climbs that ladder, she goes out, she deflects bullets, she's with her shield, and that scene is so badass. And then sure enough, all the American soldiers just charge into battle, and it's this big battle led by Wonder Woman. They go over into that town, I think it's called Veld, and she just proceeds to kick the shit out of all these dudes in slow motion in some parts, and some parts I didn't think were entirely necessary to be in slow motion. Doesn't change it from being the most badass action scene in the movie. Best part is when she just takes out her lasso and just starts throwing guys around. I was like laughing in my seat. I was like, yeah. Yes! I could watch that scene over and over again. It's just so goddamn entertaining. I fucking love it. Although when they get to the bar and they meet the crew, I was like, okay, this is the Howling Commandos. I mean, come on, you thought that too, right? The Howling Commandos from Captain America, the First Avenger. You know, there's that one French dude who's trying to hit on Diana Prince. They're like one-upping each other with the languages they speak, and then she's like, oh yeah, can you recite Socrates in ancient Greek? And that was really funny. Yeah, the Scottish dude with PTSD who's all like, what the bloody hell is she playing at? If you could change your fate, would ya? You know, this culturally diverse group of soldiers, I was like, yeah, this is totally the Howling Commandos. Straight up, DC edition. Not that I'm complaining, because they were funny. Just saying though. So they liberate this village from German control. They're hanging out, they're dancing, they're swaying back and forth. Diana and Steve Trevor are growing really close. They go into that building, they kiss, and they totally bang, right? We're all thinking that, you know, you see the wide shot of the building, and that's the end of the scene. I was like, yeah, they're totally fucking right now, right? That's what's going on. More than you can say for Steve Rogers back in World War II. There is that. Yeah, go Steve Trevor. But later on, Diana gets the impression that this bad guy Ludendorff, who I guess was actually a real person, he is the god of war Ares in disguise. And so that scene in the gala where they're dancing together and Ludendorff is all like, you know nothing of the gods. I was like, yeah, that would make sense, although I already knew that that was not Ares. This movie made me go, yeah, I'm no longer going to look into movies like this, because I looked into these movies all the time, and I knew that David Thewlis's character, Sir Patrick Morgan, was actually Ares, because just in the cast list, you'll see, oh, David Thewlis as Ares. I knew that for months, so going in, when they were dancing together in the gala, I was like, yeah, that's not Ares, but he's talking about gods and shit, but he's not Ares. Obviously, we're not supposed to know that David Thewlis is actually Ares, so yeah, I probably should not look into movies anymore. Learn my lesson. And she learned her lesson when she stabbed him, impaled him through the floor/ceiling. She's like, yeah, what the hell's going on? The war's not over. People should be like shaking hands and shit. Then David Thewlis is like, no, actually, I am Ares, but I am not what you thought I was. And yeah, it was supposed to be this holy shit moment, but I already knew that. It was spoiled for me. Oh well. But it was a pretty badass fight that she has with Ares, I'm not gonna lie. That big, the big DC fight that they have, there was emotion behind it because she was like, I'm fighting for this because you are the reason for this war that's going on. I stop you, I stop the war. And I thought he looked pretty badass in that armor, I'm not gonna lie. A little over CG? Sure, but I still thought it looked pretty cool. In fact, the whole battle was a little over CG, as were all DC fights leading up to this. But this is probably the best one so far because it had emotion behind it. Like I said, she tries using this God Killer sword and it just goes right through his hand. That I did not see coming. I was like, oh shit, so how is she gonna stop him now? Turns out Ares was like, that sword is not the God Killer, Diana. You are the God Killer. He probably shouldn't have said that because then she ends up wiping him out. But what if she hadn't known that? She would just have no clue how to kill this guy. So yeah, Ares probably should have kept his mouth shut about that. Although I will say this, when Ares has her pinned down, wrapped up in that metal thing, she's looking up at the plane going out. Steve Trevor's in the plane, he's gonna blow up all the gas and essentially sacrifice himself. Again, who else did not think of the end of Captain America the First Avenger? Again, Steve is in a plane going to make a sacrifice and you had the woman going, Steve! I'm pretty sure many a comic book movie fan's mind went there. Doesn't change the fact though that when that plane blows up, she gets pissed. She busts out, she starts beating the shit out of all these guys, killing them left and right, but yeah, it was awesome. I could tell there was plenty of emotion there. That was the most badass Wonder Woman scene, well, aside from the lasso when they were liberating the village. This was the second most badass scene in the movie. And eventually, Wonder Woman wipes out Ares with the lightning. And yeah, the war is over and they're all celebrating in the streets and she looks at Steve Trevor's, I almost said Steve Rogers, Steve Trevor's memorial picture and that's it. It goes back to present day and Diana reaffirms her mission to protect mankind and she leaps out and that's the end of the movie. I was like, awesome. Nice job, DC. Awesome job. I was talking about this movie after the second time I watched it with my friends. I still am worried about Justice League because it does pick up after BVS, not necessarily Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is essentially a prequel. It is by far the best DC Extended Universe film, but it doesn't necessarily save the DC Extended Universe. I say save because it's all a matter of opinion because, again, I like Suicide Squad and I think DC is doing a pretty good job so far. Aside from BVS, I still think Justice League might be a pretty damn good time, especially with Joss Whedon coming in for some post-production, but not for the best reason. Rest in peace, Adam Snyder. That's tragic, dude. That really sucks. My thoughts go out to Zack Snyder and his family, seriously. But in the end, Wonder Woman was a badass film. I've seen it twice at this point. If you've seen it once, see it again, because it is better the second time. I'd be down for seeing it a third time, because it's just a badass movie, and I do have high hopes for Justice League. I really do. We'll see where it goes. So, here's my question. What is your favorite action scene in Wonder Woman? Whatever it is, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.